Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth session of Dear Black Girl. We are so excited about today's conversation. As a lover of words, I think this has to be one of my favorite sessions that we've had. Today's guests hold a special place in my heart. It's amazing how when God was creating our world, he spoke it into existence. It is such a beautiful precedent of the transformational power of words. And so we want to have that conversation, share this broadcast right now with a young black or brown girl and her parents. They want to see this episode. And so I'll give you a minute to share it and make sure that the people that you love are watching this program. I'd like to ask our interviewer, Morgan, to come out and join me today. Hi, Morgan. Today, our girls have a special opportunity to learn about how their thoughts become words and their words become actions, which become habits. Our words truly do frame our world. And so we have invited two women who are using their words to change the world for the better. First, we want to bring out Erica Williams-Simon. Erica is a narrative strategist. She is an educator and storyteller on a mission to surface wisdom about who we are and how we want to live. She is also the author of You Deserve the Truth, Change the Stories That Shaped Your World, and Live a World-Changing Life. Her multidisciplinary work focuses on helping a diverse digital native generation live, create, and build careers with meaning, and spans the world of social impact, media, culture, tech, and faith. Most recently, the former Washington Politico and lifelong civil and human rights activist was founder and the head of the Creators Lab at Snapchat, a first of its kind program that developed programming for a global network of young storytellers. The self-described professional question asker was host of the popular podcast, The Call with Erica, and also the creator and host of the Rosario Dawson produced digital talk show, The Assembly. When not creating content, training, and speaking, Erica spends her time advising clients like the Gates Foundation and Google on the role of purpose and story on high impact outcomes. The self-proclaimed preacher's daughter for life has been featured on the Today Show, on O Magazine or in O Magazine and the Washington Post. And she currently resides in sunny Los Angeles. Thank you so much for being with us, Erica.
Thank you for having me, Cordelia.
All right. Next, we are bringing out Cole Arthur Riley. Cole is a writer and a liturgist. She is a speaker who is seeking a deeply contemplative life marked by embodiment and emotion. She is the founder and writer of Black Liturgies, a project seeking to integrate concepts of dignity, lament, rage, justice, rest, and liberation with the practice of written prayer. She currently serves as the content and spiritual formation manager for a Center for Christian Studies at Cornell University, and that center is called Chesterton House. In her work, she produces and curates content to guide others into deeper musings and embodiment of the faith. Cole is currently writing a book with Convergent Books of Penguin Random House. Ladies, thank you for joining us today. We are so excited to have you. Dearest Morgan, this is your thing. Have at it, my dear.
Thank you, Coco. Miss Erica, Miss Cole, we are honored to have you with us today. Language and communication are really important skills we should be building as young Black girls, and who better to teach us than you? So, Miss Erica, let's begin with you. Share a bit about your journey. What thoughts, language, and actions brought you down your road and to us today?
Morgan, thank you so much. That's such a great question, and I'm really excited to talk to you all today. So if you noticed when Miss Cordelia was reading my long bio, the part that got me most excited was when she said I'm a preacher's kid for life, because I'm a pastor's daughter. My parents started our church literally in our home when I was 9 months old. And my whole childhood and adulthood and life even now has been centered in the magic and the power and the holiness of the church. And the reason I use that as a foundation, even though my work has been in all different types of industries, is because I realized this whole time, all I've been trying to do is recreate what happens in that space. When people are sharing, they're opening their hearts and they're transforming, often using the power of words. And there's something really special. It was when I was a child that I learned that life and death lie in the power of the tongue. But then I grew up and went out into the world and I realized everybody doesn't get this. People just say things all the time so recklessly. And so I wanted to make sure that in my life and in my career, I was being very deliberate about how I use words. I remember, and I'm sure some folks watching today have had this experience, being a little girl and getting the words on my report card. She's great, but she talks too much, right? That was always a thing. A lot of young girls talk too much for other people's comfort. But the power of words is that when you use them with intention, when you use them with a goal to actually create life and to create good things and to affirm who you are, they really work. They can actually create the life that you live. And so that's what my life has been all about. And like I said, I've done that in a number of different ways and places. And all along the way, what has guided me was a sense of purpose and calling and this mouth, always wanting to talk and also, frankly, listen, because you can't really talk well unless you listen well. So that's been the center of this journey. And it's a powerful thing to be able to really understand how words shape what you see and what you experience, what you believe, and ultimately what you do.
That was great. But speaking of words and following your voice, Miss Cole, you work with Black liturgies and you have thousands of people who follow your voice. First, tell us about how you came to create Black liturgies, and also, how did you find your voice? How would you describe your voice?
Sure. I created the Instagram account Black Liturgies in the weeks following the unjust deaths of Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd. And for me, as a Christian, I wanted a space where Black people could find prayer that made sense for what they were actually going through. So I wanted a space where you could be sad in front of God, where you could ask for justice in front of God, where you could be angry in front of God, and where you could have hope and joy in God. I think I'm still finding my voice, Morgan. I think it's a bit of a journey that slowly you come to realize things about yourself through interacting with other people, through silence, and figuring out what is true about you and what really isn't true about you, what you're maybe forcing a bit. And that's how I'm slowly finding my voice.
That was amazing. I am in awe of both of your responses right now. But I'd like to go to my next question for Miss Erica. So, in your bio, Miss Coco said that you wrote a book, and our mentor Cordelia loves it. You deserve the truth. So, how do you define truth in a place with so many facts? And how did you develop your ability to think and write so truthfully?
Oh, Morgan, that is a good question, because you identified something that's really powerful and that it's really hard to figure out, and you figured out along the way. And that's that there are facts, and facts are real, and we acknowledge facts and we appreciate facts. Facts are information that are very, very valuable, but there's something a little bit different that is called truth, right? And truth are these enduring realities that, regardless of what the facts say, regardless of what the circumstances might tell us, or even what we can see with our natural eyes, that there is a truth and a knowing that is inside of us that tells us that something greater is there and is possible. How did I develop that and that ability to figure that out? a lot of it did come from my time growing up in church, but here's the special thing. Church is the space, and church is the people that come to space, but the people by themselves and the building by itself doesn't actually do all the work, right? It's the spirit. And so what I learned over time is that you have to spend time. This actually goes a little bit to what Cole just said about the process of learning your voice. It's very similar, the process of hearing God's voice, the process of understanding calling. All of that requires some quiet time, cutting off the internet, even sometimes closing a book and just sitting with yourself and listening and seeing what you hear. What do you see? What do you pay attention to? What do you feel? And then you can start to take in other voices that love you, that care about you. And that's something that's so important for us as Black women and for you as Black girls, is to be very, very careful about the voices and the words and the stories that you listen to and believe. The first place you should go is with people who love you and who care about you and who want the best for you. A lot of times, especially when you're very young, you can trust what they're saying to be true about who you are. It's not always the case, but hopefully more often than not, that is the case. So I spent a lifetime doing that, trying to listen and push back voices that felt like they didn't mean me well and that weren't for my benefit, and listening to God and praying and trying things. And then I got to the point, to answer your question about the book, where I said, okay, now I have something to share. Now I have something that I think I've learned along the way. I don't know everything, but I think I've figured something else out that I really, really want to share. And once you get to that point, don't let anyone tell you that it's not valuable or that it's not important enough to share. I believe that we should all be sharing the insight and the wisdom that we get from our lives, even at a young age. The things that you know, Morgan, and the things that all these young girls know just from living life, they're always worth sharing.
That was powerful. And I love the way that you said, the thing that you said about your spirit, because the spirit is something essential to your life, something that's deep down in your soul. And now I go to my next question for Miss Cole. Miss Cole, many young girls feel insecure about their voice and its ability to affect change, especially right now when tensions in our country are so high. So how do you and how do we speak up and put it out in hopeful, confident ways?
That's a great question. I think one way to do that is by getting with a group of people who you trust, who are safe, to figure out what you actually want to say. What do you actually think? I think, especially as young people, there can be a lot of pressure for us to speak quickly, especially on social media, to make statements and say things. And I would say, don't put that same pressure on yourself. Be kind and patient, and really work to figure out what do I want to say, and what do I not want to say, and to kind of figure that out with a group of friends and people and with parents you trust. But I would say, I mean, similar to what Erica shared, that as young people, as children, the world might be tempted to see your opinions as secondary or less than, and you together have to fight against that outer voice telling you that, and really be a voice of affirmation and encouragement to one another, to say, this person might not hear you, but I hear you. I hear you, and I'm glad you spoke. Or this person might not understand what you said, but I understand. And those moments can really encourage us to speak up when we need to, by creating that sense of community.
That was so inspiring. And when you have good listening skills, like Miss Erica said before, you have such a powerful voice, being able to stick with your opinion, but put it in some way that won't hurt anybody else. So now that brings me to my next question. Miss Erica, you share a lot about truth, and truth can sometimes be polarizing. So where do you gain the courage and the audacity to uniquely communicate in a critical and cancel culture space? Your mic is muted.
Thank you. A lot of times, at the very beginning of this conversation, we talked about speaking with intention. And speaking with intention means kind of knowing why you're speaking. What is your goal? Who are you talking to? When I used to do communications training for people, I would say, before you speak, think about the one person that you want to reach. It doesn't matter if you're actually talking to hundreds of people or thousands of people or millions of people or the whole internet. In your mind, focus on one person. That's the person that, if nobody else sees it, if nobody else gets it, I want this person to understand it or to feel seen or to feel heard. When you can really focus your intention on the kind of impact you want to have, it's so much easier for you to be able to say what you want to say and what you feel called to say without worrying quite as much about what other people think about it. Now, there is some context that matters, and that means thinking about safety, making sure, especially on the internet, making sure that the words that you use are protected. If they're not something that you want everyone to see or you think that they could ultimately harm you, maybe using wisdom. Maybe asking someone, asking a parent, if, do you think this is okay to post, in terms of thinking about your safety? But that confidence and that courage to say the truth and to say what you believe, it's so much easier to exercise when you actually have an intention and when you know the impact that you're trying to make. Because at the end of the day, as long as you reach the person that you want to reach, or even if the goal for yourself is just self-expression, sometimes we say things because we just got to get them out, because we just can't keep them bottled up any longer. When we figure out what the goal is, it helps us decide, okay, so where is the most appropriate place for me to share that?
That was amazing. I am in awe of your responses so far. And now with our final question for you both. We are young Black girls learning to find our voices and honor them. So what would you put in a Dear Black Girl to us? Miss Cole, you start. Miss Erica, you can end.
I would say, dear Black girl, you are figuring yourself out, and that's okay. You might not feel like you fit in anywhere just yet, but you are not responsible for making other people like you. You have been made in the image of God, which means you are lovely and glorious and will be with Him. I would also say, you don't really want to be friends with those people who aren't nice, who make you feel afraid and embarrassed, instead of empowered and dignified. And so I would say find a friend, even if it's just one who gets you, who loves you well, and hold on to them. Also, you are beautiful, and everything the world says about you is not necessarily true. Listen to true voices.
Now, that was great, but I'd like to go to Miss Erica now. So, can you answer, what would you put in a Dear Black Girl letter to us?
I would say, Dear Black girl, you have a future and a hope that is designed just for you. And that even if you don't have it all figured out right now, even if you don't have all the answers, even if you don't understand all of your feelings and everything that's happening in the world, know that you're not just going to be okay. You're going to be better than okay, because that's how you were created to be. And that's the life that God has designed for you. And that all you have to do, your only responsibility, is to be true to that truth, to walk and to behave and to live as if you know that you are perfectly made, that you are beautiful, that you are strong, that you are competent, that you are smart, that you are talented, even if you're not hearing that reflected or seeing that reflected around you. I would say, Dear Black girl, your life is going to be an adventure. Go forth in it confidently and understanding that it's okay sometimes to be scared. It's okay sometimes to feel weak, that's okay, that where you are weak, God is strong. And that in the end, you are going to be so proud of yourself for how you lived a life that stayed true to exactly who you were designed to be.
That was great. And I loved how you put in that you have to stay true to yourself, and that you have to think well of yourself, in that you can be nervous sometimes. Because if you're not nervous, it means you're thinking too highly of yourself.
Preach, Morgan.
And that would be not letting God take the control Like my mom once said this to me, and I heard it somewhere too. You can do your best, and then let God do the rest.
That's it.
Now, it has been such a joy chatting with you both, and I'm so sad that it has to end. You guys are my dream team, and I look up to you. We thank you for sacrificing your time to help us discover, develop, and direct our voices in the service to ourselves first and then to the world.
Thank you, Morgan.
Thank you,
Morgan,
You
where
did
should we send the offering? Because you were preaching, girl.
Right.
Erica, Cole, we want to thank you. First, Morgan, you did an exceptional job as always. Thank you for committing to this process. As many of you know, this is Morgan's first time doing anything like this, and every week she gets better. Her mom texts me and says she's been watching Tamron Hall and other interviewers because she wants to build up her interviewing skills. And so, Morgan, I want to honor you publicly for all the hard work you're doing privately. Well done. Good job.
Thank you, Coco.
Cole and Erica, this has been one of my favorite sessions. I think how we live our lives comes out of who we believe we are, and who we believe we are comes out of what we think or what we know about God and ourselves. And so I just want to honor you for lifting as you climb. I want to thank you for the sacrifice of time, and we want to pray good success over you and all that you have coming up. If people want to reach out to you or learn more about the work that you are doing, where can they go? Let's start with Cole and then we'll go to Erica.
Sure. You can feel free to follow at Black Liturgies for written prayers pretty much daily. And if you'd like, you can visit my website at blackliturgist.com.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And for me, you can go to my website, ericawilliams.com, or find me on Instagram or Twitter at Miss MISSE Will. And I do respond to direct messages there, so feel free to reach out and talk to me.
Thank you, ladies, so much. We honor you. And we will be back, everyone who is watching, in 30 seconds with Philadelphia's 16-year-old youth poet laureate, Cydney Brown. We are looking forward to that conversation. Stay tuned and share this broadcast with someone that you love. Thank you for being with us. Welcome back. Welcome back. I am joined here with one of our dear Black Girl Dream Team members, Margell. Margell, thank you for leading this segment. This is Margell's first time conducting an interview for us and just in general. And so we know you're going to crush it. You did a great job during rehearsals, and we are loving your two puffs. You came to play today. So I will leave it to you to share what we have in store next.
Thank you, Coco. Before we close today's show, we are so excited to chat with a young girl who is using her creative writing to encourage and empower youth in Philadelphia. Cydney Brown grew to love poetry by reading the poems of Maya Angelou and Robert Frost. She loves the sense of freedom writing gives. There are no limitations to where your creativity can take you. She wrote a book of poems entitled Daydreaming and is currently working on another. Her poetry explores the topic of love, self-image, and social justice. She won first place in the 2020 National Hip Hop Workshop Poetry Competition. Cydney wishes to share her poetry with the world so that she can inspire people to stand up for what they believe in. Hi, Cydney. We're honored to have you with us today. Congratulations on becoming Philadelphia's Youth Poet Laureate for 2020 to 2021.
Thank you.
For my first question, what does it mean to be the Philadelphia Youth Poet Laureate for 2020? Tell us how you received that honor.
Yeah, so it means so much to me. I've always loved writing poetry, and I always wanted to be able to impact my community with it. So this summer during the pandemic, I was looking at different opportunities where I could get my work out there. And I was able to find the Philadelphia Free Library page where I could apply to be the Youth Poet Laureate of Philadelphia. And then I did an interview and I got accepted. And that was just like the happiest day of my life.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations again. My second question, how did you discover your gift for creative writing and poetry?
Yeah, so in 5th grade, I started writing poetry, and I learned about it in English class. And then I started writing every day because it like meant so much to me. And I had different like problems with my friends or things like that, and I just wanted to write it down. And it's always been a way for me to just express what I was feeling and to let people know how I was feeling without like having to definitely say it.
Wow, that's awesome. You're really talented.
Thank you.
What advice would you give to a girl who wants to begin writing poetry?
Just start writing. Like, you don't even have to have any experience or anything. Just write down your thoughts. And I think no one can tell you that your thoughts are bad or invalid. So as long as you're writing for yourself and you love what you're doing, then you're a poet.
Yeah, that's really great advice for like I recently started like reading Maya Angelou poetry and I'm actually enjoying it. My fourth question, which is a three-part question, how did your book Daydreaming come about? How do you begin to write a book? And what a young girl watching who wants to write one?
Yeah, so I started writing it in 8th grade, and it was just a bunch of different poems that I had just thought about, or maybe I wrote them on like the bus ride to school or something like that. And then I was like, I really I just love writing poetry, and we were having a project at school that I could start writing it for. So I had time to sit down and just write poems that I loved. And then during the pandemic, I really wanted to just like get it out there and self-publish it. So I think if you just believe in yourself and you know that you want to get your work out there and you love writing, then there's nothing stopping you. And you just have to go after your dreams and like sit down and say, I'm going to do it. And then it's also something that helped me is just having my family as a support. They just helped me look at my poems over and over again, and I could tell them if, do you think this is good? Do you think this is bad? And just like having their input in everything I do is really helpful.
Yeah, that is great advice for young girls, including myself. Maybe I'll think about writing a book too. My fifth question, how have your thoughts and words framed your world?
Yeah, so definitely I usually just like write down what I'm feeling and what I think about at the time. So when I'm looking at like the world differently, I think I see things from a different light. Like I went to like a workshop one day and they said like people who write are like observers. They see the world differently. So I definitely look at things that maybe people overlook, or people that maybe like shy away from the crowds. I look to them and I think about like what they're feeling in that moment, and I like to write down like what their emotions are.
Well, yeah, I also like have a dream. I think it's called your Dream Star Here book. I usually like write down my dreams, and sometimes I write down scriptures, my goals, and so on. So yeah. And for my final question, sadly, and the really great part, will you please share some of your poetry with us?
Yes, I would love to. So this is a poem that I wrote entitled Black Girl. Black girl walks into a room. Without even speaking, people already assume the tone of her voice, the place that she lives, the loves that she's lost, but Black girl doesn't give a about it. Black girl lives her life out loud, so proud of her circle of friends and the journey she's on. Black girl grew up not really knowing who she was. Black girl never really saw her complexion on TV, and the only thing she knew about Black history was that white people felt guilty. Because during the conversations about slaves, they always seemed to look at her and apologize. The only Black girl in the room. It's hard to be yourself when everyone in the room is programmed to put you down. Look around, who have you judged before you even had a conversation with them? If I don't like you, just know I took the time to evaluate your character before I subtracted you out of my equation. And no, life is not a math problem, though I am always trying to find the answers. It's more like an English class, finding meanings for metaphors and what symbolizes what. Because I was in history class and noticed the chalkboard, how white chalk is constantly writing over black ideas. And if you thought to yourself, that is not a race issue, then you are a part of the problem. Even when you erase the blackboard, whitewashing is still prominent, making my people internalize that they are less than their white counterparts, making us go back to the drawing board. While the white chalk screeches on our melanin like the white masters used to rape our beautiful black women on the plantation. Black girls, black girl feels like she is constantly being told she isn't good enough. And in this race game, her trying 10 times harder just gets her to the starting line, while others have already finished the race. Question: when you are finished the race, do you ever look back? Because that's where she is. Black girl just started her self-love journey because she's been taught self-hate in a PWI since third grade, where her hair was the best petting zoo in the school. And she made sure not to look like a fool because she felt like she had the weight of a million on her shoulders. She carried rocks, those rocks turned into boulders, and Black girl couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't stand the disrespect, couldn't stand the lack of representation, couldn't stand carrying their guilt too, couldn't stand every word she said being seen as a threat. And when she spoke, she could see how people took a step back, afraid that Black girl is gonna clap back, afraid that Black girl is gonna crack, afraid that Black girl is gonna smack somebody in the face. Well, Black girl is tired of being misused. Black girl is not a monster. You should not be afraid. Black girl is not a dinner plate you can eat when you're hungry. Black girl is not a pillow you can cry all your tears into and make her feel sorry for your mistakes as well. Black girl is not loud. You just never listened before. Black girl is powerful. I am powerful. I am Black girl. Thank you.
Wow, that was really touching. You're the next Maya Angelou.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being with us today, Cydney. These powerful words will remain with us as we journey on as Dear Black Girls. And now to close our show, please welcome Peyton.
Hi, Pay. Can you start over for us, honey? Because you were muted. So if you can unmute yourself and then let's start from the very beginning.
All right.
Great job. Okay, let's get started.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning into today's session of Dear Black Girl. We will have another giveaway today. We are giving away a Bailey nail box. And the winner is 10-year-old Brooke McKnight. Congratulations, Brooke. If you want to win one of our giveaways, then make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube channel, Daughters and Vessels, and our Instagram page as well. See you guys next time. Bye.
Okay.